player education is something that's very important to you, and you mentioned the holistic approach. But personally, you're a very curious person. You're very a person that is always trying to learn. You went to an NBA training camp this year. You always are trying to connect yourself to other professional sports and get what they do best and see how that applies to you. What can you tell coaches out there about what they should be doing for their own continuing education or for their own career development in coaching?
Well, obviously, every country is different. You know, I mean, the U.S. is different. With obviously we have the two models there, you know, from the NCAA and also from U.S. soccer. I think coaches' education is a very, very important piece in this whole thing. You know, and it's an area where we will dig into over the next couple of months, and hopefully can offer more kind of topics and more thoughts and more kind of ideas about different approaches to all the coaches out there. I mean, I was lucky. I played in 4 different countries, you know, and I learned different methods, and I studied different ways of doing it around the world, but then also from other sports. As a coach, you have to stay always curious. You have to always look for the next thing. What can I learn? And for a coach, it's extremely important also, like for a player, you know, think about today and tomorrow, and not of what have I done already. I think the moment, you know, when I kind of bump into people that talk about, hey, remember there 10 years ago this, 15 years ago that, then I leave that group. Because it's not today and it's not tomorrow, because I won't
go back.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a wonderful thing about soccer. It's always moving. It's always the next game coming up. Every day is game day. You know, every training session will make a difference. Every talk with a player will make a difference. You know, whatever you do today will influence tomorrow. So I just, from my personal perspective, I just want to get everything out of every day because I feel fortunate that I can be in that environment. So it's kind of an interesting time for U.S. soccer now, going into that deeper topic of coaches' education. So what's going on in other countries around the world? What can we learn from them? There are certainly things that other countries can learn from us. So how can we kind of improve all the different elements of the game? And it's something that I will definitely get involved with, and hopefully, you know, down the road, some people will benefit from it.
Was there a single inspirational coach whom affected you most during your time as a player, and how did they inspire you?
Well, I had, I think, about 20 coaches and real big names. I think the most important message I got at one point from a coach was Ari Hahn, you know, twice runner-up in the World Cup for Holland, amazing player. Was my coach at Stuttgart. We played the UEFA Cup final against Naples with Maradona, Careca. And I already broke into the national team, and I kind of was a little bit, you know, the big fish in a small pond, you know, in Stuttgart. And he came up to me and says, "You got to move on." And the club badly wanted to keep me. And I looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" "No, you got to move on. You know, you got to move on. It's time for you to go." And I think that was the best message I've ever received, because there's a coach that actually puts his own job on the line by moving somebody on, saying, you know, it was the key player at that moment, but for his own development, it's time to the next level. And I'm often asked, you know, about when is the right time for a US player going to Europe? When is the right time to make the next step? Obviously, now we have MLS players in our camp here in Phoenix, and they all think about Europe. They all dream about. They want to be where Tim Howard and Clint Dempsey are. So what are you answering those guys? And I tell these guys, you know, you can't give a yes or no answer, because every one of you is different. You know, you're a child of your environment, and some players are ready at the age of 18, very, very rarely. Some are maybe ready at 20, some are maybe ready at 23. I was only ready at the age of 24 to move on. So it is a very tricky situation, and I think that we coaches, all of us, play a vital role in that, because they will listen to you. They will listen to you what they should do with their lives also. You know, if maybe now Juan Agudelo comes to me or Breck Shea comes to me and says, I want to move on, you know? And I got to tell them, I mean, obviously I talk to their coaches all the time as well, but I got to tell you, you know, there's a lot still that you have to learn, you know? They won't forgive you all that stuff if you go straight overseas and you think you can improve that. You might get 1, 2, 3 months, and then they're going to send you back home if you're not ready for it. I'm not saying they're not ready, but there's so many important things that need to fit before a kid goes overseas. You know, and we see it with Brazilian talents, you know, 9 out of 10 don't make it. Now,
we hear about the one.
You only read about, you know, the special talent. Now we talk all about Neymar and stuff. Yeah, will he make it? Certainly he will make it because he's really good. but you don't hear about the 9 other ones that went overseas, you know, and they're coming back after 3 months, after 6 months, and then it comes the next whole wave of Brazilian players going and Argentinian players going overseas, because they, even overseas, they can only play with 11 per team. So it is really important that the coaches become aware of that and also are very, very responsible in their advices that they give to the players, you know, and be straightforward and say, you know what, yeah, there's always a big risk with it, you know. Do you want your player to move up to the next level, wherever that level is? Yes, but you also are responsible as a coach to have a good sense for the timing.